Welcome to Mom's Timeout. I'm your host, Heather. Make sure you follow me on my socials and subscribe to the Mom's Timeout podcast on my YouTube channel, or you can stream on Apple and Spotify. If you're here, I know you've got a lot on your plate. Whether you're up all night with a newborn, chasing a toddler or multiple toddlers around, helping your school age kids with homework, or just trying to keep things together with your grown kids. You're doing it all, and I see you. This space is for every mom, no matter where you are on this wild ride of motherhood. We're keeping it real here. No sugarcoating, just straight up, honest talk. Just another normal day of packing lunches, reminding my kid again that socks go on before the shoes, and answering 20 million why questions, while also processing the complete and utter collapse of democracy and human rights in real time. Love that for us. Seriously, though. I know I'm not the only mom feeling this impossible tug of war. On one side, I have real life, kids that need dinner, laundry needs folding, the school needs me to sign yet another form. And on the other side, the world is basically on fire. And yet, somehow, I am still expected to function. Cool, cool, cool. If you've ever thought, how am I supposed to raise kids and keep them happy, healthy, and, oh yeah, alive when all of this chaos is happening outside the comfort of my four walls of home? Congratulations, you are not actually crazy. Welcome to the club where we scream inside all day long. But don't worry, today's episode is for you. When I started this podcast, my goal was to talk about mother, the mental load, self care, the constant juggle of responsibilities. And while I still do that, something really shifted after the November election, and it became impossible to separate motherhood from what is happening in the world around us. And I couldn't just sit back and pretend like the news wasn't wreaking havoc on my own mental health and what I was clearly seeing in others' own mental health as well. Because let's be real, moms don't have the privilege of not caring, right? When policies affect the safety of our kids in schools, it affects us as moms. When laws change what kind of healthcare we have access to, it affects us as moms. When the economy shifts and costs rise on basic necessities, we feel it as moms trying to keep food on the table. So ignoring was not an option for me. Now, let's be clear. These episodes are not about enforcing my opinions on anyone. I am not here to tell you what to think. I'm here to open the conversation and offer different perspectives. If I am feeling overwhelmed by what's happening, I know that other moms are too. And if I can create a space where we can talk about it without screaming at each other, then I've done my job. Because at the end of the day, motherhood doesn't exist in a vacuum. We are raising kids in this world, and the world directly impacts how we mother. I will never tell you how to vote. I will never force my beliefs on you, but I will talk about the things that impact us as moms because they matter. And if we're going to survive this chaos, we need to be able to talk about it together. So if this resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts. So let's keep the conversation going in the comments. So coming up in today's episode, we are breaking down why so many of us feel like we are experiencing that emotional whiplash, trying to juggle that normal mom life while also watching the chaos unfold. We will talk about why some people are completely freaking out, why others seem completely unbothered, and why neither is actually wrong. We just view life differently, and that is okay. Plus, I'll give you some actual ways to cope. So, hopefully, that you don't spiral too hard, but also don't feel like you're completely detaching from reality. So, let's get into it. So, let's start with the absolute whiplash of being both a functioning adult and a mother in today's world. Lucky us. Because one second we are reading about terrifying laws that just passed, and the next, your kid is screaming because you cut their sandwich into squares instead of triangles. How dare you? The range of emotions in motherhood is absolutely insane. Throw in existential dread, and we're barely holding on. Like just the other day, I was in the middle of watching a video on how basic human rights are suddenly up for debate again in 2025. And my son runs up to me and is like, "Mom, look, he's stomping on the blocks. Isn't that so funny?" And I'm like, "Love, mommy's trying to hold the entire democratic system together. Please hold." It feels like the disconnect is real. Some people are out here planning summer vacations and browsing Pinterest for nursery ideas. Meanwhile, I am wondering what kind of world my kids are even growing up in and trying not to have a full existential crisis in the carpool room. And lately, I have been scrolling social media and coming across many posts in which others are feeling the weight of it all, and these are just some of the responses that I am seeing. One person responded to a post saying, "Responding to corporate emails while watching the country burn around me is wild." Another one responded, "Tons of people don't realize the gravity. Others have no clue it's even happening. And the rest of us screaming inside all day long." Another response, "I don't even know how to talk to people without bringing it up." And last one, "I'm crashing out. People think I'm overreacting." If you are feeling this way too, you are not alone. The emotional whiplash of trying to live a quote normal unquote life while carrying the weight of everything happening in the world is real. And the fact that so many of us are experiencing it proves that this isn't just in our heads. It is a shared reality that's exhausting, isolating, and really fucking hard to navigate. If you are deeply concerned about the state of the world, you are often labeled as dramatic or negative. We are constantly told, "You're overreacting," or "Nothing's even happened yet. What are you stressing about?" But we know how history works. We know the signs. It's like watching a car head straight for a wall, and people are like, let's wait till it crashes before we worry. Every major societal shift in history has had people raising the alarm while others have ignored them. Civil rights, women's rights, wars, economic crashes. There were always people saying, "Oh, it's not that bad." And guess what? It was. But here's where I want to shift the perspective for just a second. We can assume that everyone around us is just living life as normal, while we're over here completely spiraling. But the truth is, we don't actually know what's going on in their heads or their lives. Just because someone looks like they're unbothered doesn't mean that they actually are. Maybe they're scared too. Maybe they feel helpless. Or maybe they just don't know how to process everything that's happening. Unless you personally know them, you don't really know their story. Here's another thing. If you can find someone who is willing to listen to your perspective, even if they don't agree, that is a win. Ask questions to understand, to change your mind, or prove them wrong. Instead of calling them crazy or not freaking out, try to understand why they don't react like you do. Because here's the cool thing about conversation: you might not change their mind, and they might not change yours, but you will at least get each other a little bit better. And that alone makes navigating this chaos a little less isolating. Carrying the weight of the world while also carrying the weight of motherhood is fucking exhausting, and it will break you. And let's be real, moms are already doing mental gymnastics just trying to keep up with our own kids' schedules, their moods, and whether or not they've had a vegetable today. We cannot afford to drown in this stress alone. So if you take anything from today, it is these things. You're not crazy for being deeply concerned about the world. Other people are not wrong for choosing to react differently. And the more we learn to understand each other's processing styles, the less alone we'll all feel in this mess. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to do our best to raise our kids, keep our family safe, and make it through each day without completely burning out. But we cannot do it alone. We need space to process, to vent, and to support each other without judgment. So if today's conversation resonated with you, let it be a reminder that you are not alone in feeling this way. We don't have to have all the answers, but we do have to keep showing up for ourselves, for each other, and for the world that we're raising our kids in. Let's keep this conversation going, because holding all of this in, that is the real weight that'll break us. If this episode hit home for you, send it to another mom who needs to hear it. And if you have your own strategies for not spiraling while existing in a chaotic world, comment below, because I need them just as much as you do. And that's a wrap on today's episode. I will see you next Friday. Ooh.